Hello, welcome back. We got a EVO race here. It's on the Coastal Crusher. So it's kind of an out and back. You start here in the jungle start pen. Basically you roll down through the jungle, out through the new coastal road, make a loop around Tempest Fugit at the roundabout, and you're headed back to finish at the sprint in the little Mayan town. This race is from mid-December. So I'm a little behind with the videos. However, this is just a pretty good race of not knowing who's in the race, but just covering moves and moving along. Overall, this is a pretty good course if you are in one of the race groups that have some wider margins, some bigger groups. I know they changed them recently, but I have not done one of the new sortings, I guess, what advanced and then 1 and 2, whatever it's called. But this is a pretty good race, basically, where you're just hanging out and covering whatever moves come about, because I don't know all these guys. They do seem to be pretty good just from looking at the Swift Power start list. With that being said, you know, it's all about how the race plays out. But with this being a pretty flat race overall, I mean, there's several bumps, but nothing crazy. And as we'll see here, there's someone does go off the front, and it's kind of the typical Zwift race to where, you know, one guy makes a move and everyone just kind of chills, like, what's going to happen here? Who's going to chase? I don't want to chase. And then, you know, it's the whole race of if he's going to come back or not. So this is pretty chill. As you can see here, we just had the bridge. That was the only part that even was a little bit spicy. Now right here, randomly, it's like, I don't know what, they just all of a sudden they took off. And I know the steering here, it's been like doing this for a while. I've read some stuff about Pack Dynamics 5, and I can't find anything from Swift actually saying that. So I don't know where the Pack Dynamics 5 has ever come up, because the actual dynamics of the race, of the riding, haven't changed. It's the steering that's changed. And I mean, I am not a steering fan. I have steering, but I've yet to have any event, especially in a group like this, like, you know, any draft, anytime you have draft, if you steer, you end up losing positions. It's maybe if you are on a course that has a lot of turns, like if you take Alp to Zwift away, I don't feel there's any true advantage to using steering, because unlike RGT was steering, it was really good, like, because you used the entire road. So that was definitely a benefit. On RGT, because you had to steer and I had to use the keyboard. Like, yeah, I didn't have a steerzo or anything else that allowed steering. So I just don't see in Zwift it truly being any kind of, I guess, game-changing aspect. Like, it's just because I got steering doesn't mean I'm getting off the front. There's not enough room to get away and leave the others without the draft, because Swift draft is so huge. So we do see, I'm going to say, just say CS Shop is up the road. I don't know how to say his last name. So CS Shop's up the road, and he's not doing anything crazy for this top category. He's bouncing around 4.8, 4.9, and I mean, I can hold that area 4.8, 4.9 for several minutes. So, you know, at this point, he could just be making his tack. So people aren't really doing anything. They're just kind of chilling. This group's letting him go. I do think he was a black dot rider, if I remember right from when I looked this up before the race. I do think there was several black dot riders here that had the FTPs over 5.0, but this course, it doesn't really matter. I mean, because of the draft, you just got to cover the moves and stay in the draft. But yeah, this steering aspect, like in this race, a lot of guys you'll see steering, and some of the separation is from the weird dynamics I got going on, and I've noticed it for a while, but I'm not sure what Swift is trying to do. I don't see much benefit to it, because a lot of the times, just because I got steering doesn't mean I'm going to win. It's all about the power and the move. And I know from testing with the Aunt Bev account, Aunt Bev stays on my wheel pretty much all the time, and she has no steering. Well, it's actually he, but we call him Aunt Bev. Aunt Bev just hangs on my wheel pretty much all the time. The only time that I've seen him truly get fuddled up was whenever we were in McCurry. That sometimes he'll get off. Now, granted, once you're out of the draft, yeah, there is a difference. Mainly with bike choices, what I was testing, because if you got a draft, the bike choice doesn't really matter in the draft, because you could sit on Tempest in the Buffalo bike and be faster than, like on the high traffic day, say there's 14,000 people in Zwift, and you're on Tempest on the Buffalo bike, your times will be faster simply because of draft. Say at a low time, like I ride a lot, there's 2,000 people on Zwift, and the America's evening, your fastest bike will be slower just because of the draft. And I've been riding a lot of my whoosh, and I've been double dipping, kind of just checking out the speeds. The speeds difference is crazy. I was riding the 4.4 watt per kilogram on the 4.4 watt per kilogram bot on my whoosh. We were doing 43 kilometers on a stone flat course, and on Zwift on Tempest Fugit, I was on with Constance, and we were doing 47, 48 kilometers. It's wild, the speed difference. But as you can see here, we're all staying together. CS shops up front. No one's fully committed. I'm not sure at what point he may have already been saying it in chat. But one guy's like, let's work together, let's go. And I'm like, I'm hanging in here. I've got nothing. My fitness has slowly declined from November. I was up around 70 right around November, and then Thanksgiving hit, and I've dropped steady. Like as of right now, it's January 5th, and I'm down around 50. So it's definitely been a downward slope for me, just with work and family stuff. Just haven't had time to train, and that happens. But you can definitely tell just by my facial expressions here that I'm definitely working. And as my heart rate, if anyone's been watching my videos for a while, you could see my heart rate being steady at 170 is kind of you ought to be able to understand that I'm really hurting here, because my normal heart rate, like max, is mid 170s, but not the case right now. We are holding a threshold, and I remember setting a threshold heart rate of 171 here, so it's my heart rate stays pretty high this whole race, and that's partly because of the downtrend in my fitness. There's a little bit of trying to work to get CS shot back here, but nothing major. Like if all, 8 of us, 10 of us, whatever is here, if we all would have actually worked a little bit, it definitely would have come back together. Because CS Shop, he's doing some work, but he's not like going crazy. So if we would have actually worked together as a group, it wouldn't have mattered. And there were some guys trying, but some people really didn't fully commit. And that was ultimately the downfall of this section of the race. It was just no true commitment to working together. There was a few attacks here, or not a few attacks, but a few pulls here and there, but nothing cohesive as a group. And my sole goal is just to make it to the finish. And I do kind of like the Christmas trees in Zwift. I almost kind of wish they were there year round because it breaks up the scenery. Now it might just be because you're so used to seeing the same thing over and over again. So having the Christmas trees breaks it up a little bit. And most of this course, I don't think there's any climb that the gradient gets above that 5-6% to where you kind of lose the draft. Like it's all draftable. So as long as you're around people, you're all right without getting dropped. Now this kind of caught me off guard. I'll say that. Luckily they didn't continue pushing through the pace up this climb. I mean, they did raise it a little bit. It wasn't anything crazy. And that's another move too. Like at this point, the pack was getting stretched out a little bit. You could push the pace because you know you got that roller coming up next. Luckily they didn't for me because I'm definitely feeling this effort. So this section here, you see some people are starting to steer and move around. And I'm just trying to stay within the draft. That's the main thing I use steering for, is keeping in the draft, not necessarily trying to make a move. But even there, right there, see, I was moved to the inside and I didn't have any draft and the actual pack just blew by me. So that's the biggest thing with steering. If you're in a group, it doesn't matter. If you're around anyone that has draft, it's pointless to steer. It's maybe if you're solo, you might be able to gain, a few seconds or so across a course like this where it does have some turns. But if you're around a draft, steering is not making a difference, because it actually will, if you steer away to like the left side there and the group's on the right side, you lost your draft, you're done. So it's the big thing. Like steering, I know it's a hot topic within Zwift, but it's just, I don't know. I don't see the benefit in it. I don't know, when I get the future works, the no longer relevant, not relevant, but no longer existing future works brand, when I get those surveys at the end, I always say it's not steering, it's the other buttons on the plays that are good. But I do love that Zwift can't remove and add Zwift Labs to that, and they still have future works in that survey. It's just one of those funny things that Zwift just, I don't know why they still have it there. We got about 7Ks to go and it's pretty much flat. I think there's 2 little bumps that you're gonna have to kind of pay attention to coming through here. But at this point, we've done enough tacks, we've done enough work. We kind of know, like, or I know, I should say, I kind of know that there's no one here that's going to like demolish me on these. I'm going to stay with it. The only thing is, CS Shop, he's just rolled off the front, holding up around that 4.8, 4 or 5.0 range. It's not steady, but it's definitely consistent. So the group let him go. We didn't organize attack, and that's how it goes sometimes. And one thing at this moment, I kind of forgot how long this was going back across there. It's like 16, I think it's 16 kilometers. It is a good chunk of road. Like, I know I complain about Zwift not adding a lot of roads, and they really don't, because it's been 4 years before we got this expansion and then the grade and then Jarvis, which is kind of annoying, but it was 4 years to get a total of what, maybe 25 kilometers of road. It's kind of frustrating when other platforms are adding whole entire worlds with 60 kilometers of new roads. But I guess that's what Zwift is. It's just slow progress, which is fine because it is a good platform for what it is. Now moving forward to some of the racing as the Zwift games and whatnot, we'll see how that plays out. We're coming to the finish, and I'm you could tell by my eyes once I slow the video down here, I am done. And they're picking up the pace pretty good here, so I'm just trying to hold as close to mid-pack as possible, you can see my eyes here. Like I'm in pure suffer mode already. So I don't know how, in this moment, I don't know how much sprint I'm going to have. So basically there's one guy going up the front, that guy Geiter. This is pretty long, 800 kilometers out, and these guys are starting their sprint. I don't have that, but I'm just going to try to pick up the pace and hopefully be in the position to have something left at the end. But these guys are going full bore way longer than my sprint is. So essentially I'm just packing it in, just trying to keep whatever position I got. And this is a tricky sprint. Like, I don't know how often you guys do come across this, but this bridge, the turn, and the incline, it's hard to see where it is, the actual finish. And with this incline there, it makes it seem a lot longer than what it is. But yeah, see, those guys are way up the road, and I don't have that kind of sprint, especially with the with the current fitness I got there. But it was a good race. It was a good workout. More so, this was kind of one of the racing as a workout, the holding threshold tempo and then doing the VO2. So it was a good race. The old CS shop, he crushed it. Great race by him. And the sprint those guys had at the end to finish it, great work. And as you can see here, that was a new max heart rate. I have to go back and look, but 183, that's the highest it's been in a very long time. So got a new max heart rate and got my butt kicked, but that's how it goes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good evening.